All right, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement called. Next witness.
The state would call Heather Rashadi.
All right.
All right, good morning. Ms. Rashadi, if you would please make your way to the witness stand. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
Heather Rashadi, Heather Ricciotti.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Ms. Rashadi, I want to direct your attention to November 21st of last year. Were you at the Christmas parade held on Main Street in the city of Waukesha?
I was.
Who were you there with?
I was there with my 3 children.
How old are they?
At the time, they would have been 7, 5, and not quite 2.
Do you recall where you were seated or standing?
We were on the corner by the steaming cup.
Okay. I'm going to ask that Exhibit 51, which was previously admitted into evidence, be published to the jury.
Objection.
Permission granted.
Ma'am, do you see the area highlighted on the screen in front of you? Actually on the table right in front of you.
Oh,
sorry.
yes.
Okay, and does that look familiar as the steaming cup?
Yes, we were on the paver portion of the corner there.
Okay. Can you circle or put an X in the area that you and your 3 kids are at, approximately?
Sure.
It's a
Touchscreen, okay.
Yes.
So I would have been a little bit further back from my kids, maybe like over here, and my 2 older kids would have, they were in the street right about there.
Okay.
Oh,
And
no.
at some point, were you standing, I'm sorry?
She must have said they got scrubbed.
I was standing and my youngest was in a stroller with me.
Okay. And the other 2 kids, were they in the street?
Yep, they were with the other kids that were just waiting for candy from the floats.
Were their kids on like your right side as you were watching the parade?
They were kind of just in front of me, a little to the side though, yeah.
Okay, thank you. What was that the approximate area that your kids were standing?
Even out probably a little bit further than where I circled.
Did anyone raise a concern about where they were standing at some point during the parade?
There was concern about it. A police officer had come by and actually moved all the kids back a little bit. And there was another mom there, and her daughter was near my kids. And she had actually said to me, gosh, they're out a little bit far. And I said, everything's going so slow, they're not going to get hit. They'll be fine.
So at some point during the parade, was your attention diverted from what was the floats and the participants and the spectators to something else? Was your attention drawn away?
Yeah, there was one point when there was a break in the actual parade, and an SUV came down the road, and it was coming faster than any parade float should have been coming, so it was confusing, and I didn't know what was happening at the time, but it did veer into the crowd just right in front of me where my son got hit.
Okay. So first of all, can you draw an arrow on the direction that the vehicle was going?
Sure. It was coming from this way.
Okay. And what direction, if you can kind of follow that line, what direction was it going as you said it veered towards you?
It wasn't going straight. It was just kind of like, and then it just kind of went in this way and ended up right about there.
Were any of your kids, one was in a stroller that was by you, up on the ledge, I think, or the...
Yeah, further back.
Were either of your other 2 kids struck by the SUV?
My middle son, Owen, was struck by the SUV when it came through.
And Owen is 7?
He was 5 at the time. He's 6 now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I knew he would be
Exactly.
staring
He's
like
No, I
that.
was just testing you to make sure that you knew the ages.
It's hard to
of your
keep them
kids.
straight, but I
Yeah.
sometimes do.
Thank you. Did you see the path of travel after the SUV came towards you and hit Owen?
I didn't, because I gathered up my kids as fast as I could, and we had parked in the public lot down here, and so I just gathered them up as fast as I could, and we just ran to the car and to get out of there. There was a lot of chaos and screaming and crying. And
Did you? What injuries did Owen receive?
he ended up needing 6 stitches. He had a gash on his eye, above his eye, like in his eyebrow. So he needed 6 stitches because it was pretty deep. They couldn't just glue it or anything like that.
Now, you put your hand above your right eyebrow. Was it above his right eyebrow?
Yeah.
Okay. And where were the kids facing, if you recall, right before the SUV came and struck Owen?
They were waiting for the next float, so he was turned facing the way the floats were coming, because there wasn't anything going on at the time. They were just waiting for the next thing, so they were just watching for the next float to come by.
Okay. So I'm assuming his
So he was-
body.
Yeah, he was turned.
Okay, thank you. Did you get medical attention right away?
I dropped my youngest and my oldest off at home, and then I quickly took Owen to Waukesha Memorial.
And that's where he was treated?
That's where he was treated.
You know, I'm sitting here trying to think of like the dumb questions that Darrell is probably going to ask her. And I bet you he's going to say something like, why would you have to leave your other kids at home? Like, wouldn't you bring them with you? Like, he just tries to make people look like they're as terrible as he actually is, you know? So
Did you see?
I think that's going to be one of the
what color
questions.
was the SUV?
It was a
I can't
maroonish
pronounce the
red.
S's right now.
Did you notice anything distinctive about it other than it was a maroonish red SUV?
No,
Did you see the vehicle prior to it striking Owen strike anyone?
I didn't.
Did you see the vehicle strike anyone after it struck Owen?
I didn't.
He's writing.
Oh, sorry. Nope. We'd ask that a screenshot be taken of State's Exhibit 51. I believe that would be 51A.
Objection.
And we'd ask that it be admitted into evidence.
Objection.
Overruled.
My objection was to clarification on whether she was done or not.
I believe it is 51A. It is also captured, and did you move that one in to evidence?
Thank you.
Sorry, did you move 51A?
I did.
All right, and 51A is also received.
Why does he look like he's waiting for
We
something?
have no other questions for this witness. Thank you.
It's overruled.
All right, any questions, sir?
Yes. You stated a few minutes ago that at one point before the vehicle came through that you were having a conversation to the effect of things were going slow, they're not going to get hit.
I never said I was having a conversation.
Well, let me back up. Who were you talking to when you said everything's going slow, pretty slow, they're not going to get hit?
Another mom.
So would it be fair to say that's a conversation?
Yes.
And why did you make reference to getting hit at that point?
Because they're in the street.
Because I didn't expect my kid to get hit at a parade.
So you had already made the determination that they were going to get hit at a parade at that point?
Objection.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Yo, this dude is okay. I do this every time. I gotta
Why
calm
would
down.
getting hit be in your head at that point?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Overruled. She may answer the question.
I wasn't concerned about my children being hit at a parade because typically at a parade floats are going very slow.
And also, he wasn't paying attention. She wasn't the one that brought up the kids possibly getting hit. She said another mom said to her, gosh, they're out on the road pretty far. He didn't even really listen to what she was saying.
It still doesn't quite answer the question, because the statement was things are going pretty slow, they won't get hit. What prompted the statement they won't get hit at that point?
Another mom was concerned about how much into the street the kids were waiting for candy.
So it'd be fair to say that the initial concern was from another parent
Correct.
and not yourself.
I wasn't worried about my kids getting hit at a parade, as I shouldn't have been.
You stated also that you dropped your other kids off before seeking medical attention.
Look.
Would that be fair to say?
I said that.
Look at this.
Any reason why you didn't seek medical attention immediately?
I did seek medical attention immediately.
You also just stated that you dropped your other kids off. And
My house
then-
is on the way to the hospital, so I dropped 2 of my children off so they wouldn't have to sit at the hospital.
I knew he was going to ask something stupid like that. It's that predictability.
So your intention at that point was to seek medical attention.
I sought medical attention.
Was
Yes.
that your intent?
That's what I did.
Was it your intent?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained. Asked and answered.
Playing with people's lives.
Do you recall about what time you arrived at the parade?
No.
You recall what time you left the parade?
No.
Were you at the parade with anyone other than your children at that time?
No.
Before you were able to see the vehicle that struck your son, or was it your son?
Yes.
Before you saw the vehicle, did you observe anyone else struck before that moment?
No.
After that moment?
No.
About how long did it take you to gather your children up before?
Not very long.
Surprised he's not asking about the license plate and tinted windows and everything.
Do you recall how long you were treated at the hospital?
I don't know. We were there for a while waiting. The waiting room was full of people that were hurt.
Were you ever told at any point during your waiting process that you probably could have went to another medical facility?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained.
You recall giving a statement to law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you recall if it was the same night of the incident?
I gave a report the night of the incident at the hospital.
And did you follow up on that report at any time?
No, I didn't.
Any reason why?
Why would I follow up?
Well, it would be fair to say, would it not, that after making a report to law enforcement, you would want to follow up maybe to see what's going to be done about the report. Would that be fair to say?
I knew that the police were going to do their jobs, so I didn't have a reason to follow up. They contacted me when they needed to contact me.
So it'd be fair to say you just gave the report and then just left the rest up to law enforcement.
This is what she just said.
And I'm
Fisher Price
assuming
attorney.
that law enforcement at some point got back in touch with you. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Do you recall about when that was?
Either the next day or the day after.
Do you recall if it was a detective or a regular officer?
I believe it was a detective.
Do you recall the name of the detective?
No.
Make sure I'm recording.
Were you at any time given a card by the detective to be able to keep in contact?
I don't recall.
Do you recall if your interview was written down as a summary or if it was recorded?
I think he did both.
Did you file any claims related to this matter?
No.
What you
Ever
gonna
read
say
or
now?
saw a complaint in this matter?
No.
Grounds.
Sustained. You may rephrase if you want. But sustained as to the form of the question.
She is staring through this man's soul. Like
Whom are
It's
you
like I said.
contacted by in regards to possibly testifying in this matter?
I don't know. Probably the DA's office. I don't know.
Were you subpoenaed?
I was subpoenaed to be here.
Do you recall who that subpoena was from?
I don't know.
So it'd be fair to say that you received a subpoena and never read who it was from. Would that be fair to say?
From the state of Wisconsin.
When you say the state of Wisconsin, who are you referring to?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Not relevant.
Will you consider yourself an injured party in this matter?
I was not physically injured myself.
Have you filed a claim in this matter in any way?
Has to be answered.
Sustained.
Would you consider yourself to be the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Not relevant. Also under 90611.
nice. We got a 90611. It's been a while.
Are you aware of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained on relevance grounds.
He's got a
Ever
good
had a
like.
conversation with the plaintiff at any time in this matter?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question. You may rephrase it if you would like. Some more specificity.
Have you ever had any phone conversations or personal interactions with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, vague.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question. You may rephrase it if you so choose with more specificity so that it's not
Yes.
vague.
Are you aware of the identity of the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Not relevant.
Grounds.
It's not relevant. Sustained.
Are you aware if there is a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
On relevance grounds. Also under 90611.
With all respect, Your Honor, the jury deserves to know this information.
There you go. End it.
We're withholding important information from the jury. They deserve to know this.
The jury will disregard the statement made by Mr. Brooks as not being an accurate statement of the law. Next question.
No next question. And then look at this. He doesn't
So
deserve to ask
to your
anymore.
knowledge, you're not aware of any plaintiff in this matter.
Objection.
Grounds?
Sustained. Mr. Brooks, please move on to another topic under 90611. You are hereby advised that if you do not move on to a new topic, I will close the cross-examination.
He's going to end
With all
it.
due respect, Your Honor, this is important information the jury deserves to know.
Mr. Brooks, ask a relevant question, please.
That holds a lot of relevance, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, one last opportunity to ask a question. Otherwise, the court will declare the cross-examination closed under 90611.
No further questions.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Nice. I knew he was going to probably wrap it up. Once he gets like a good bit of pushback, it seems like he
Stated
just
false
ends it
next
now.
witness.
Daniel Knapp.
Daniel Knapp.
All right, Mr. Knapp, if you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right, up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's to my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat.
But I believe that witness's name was Heather, and she was staring through this man's soul. Like, this is why I say, dude's playing with people's lives, he's playing with their kids, and then he wants to be a Fisher-Price attorney and thinks that, like, people have to play along with it and be, like, happy and cooperative. It's like, dude, after everything you've done, he shouldn't be surprised when he gets pushback or anything like that. Even though, like, the judge isn't really giving him pushback, she's doing her job. But it's crazy that he gives her so many problems, but then still wants so much leniency. If that makes sense, I hope that makes sense. I'm just kind of
First thing I will ask that you do is to state
kinda
your
talking.
first and last names for the record.
the stuff that
and
I
then
realized
spell
about this guy.
each.
Daniel Knapp, D-A-N-I-E-L, Knapp, K-N-A-P-P.
Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Morning, sir.
Morning.
I can direct your attention to November 21st of 2021. Were you at the Waukesha Christmas parade on that date?
I was.
Who were you with?
I was with my family, my wife, and 3 children, as well as 3 other families. There's a group of 19 of us.
And by chance, were you with, I'm sorry, Your Yes, thank you. Ed Harris?
Yes.
And did Matt have his...
Hold on, overruled,
Sorry.
the question and answer will stand.
Sir, how old are you kids?
My kids at the time of the parade were 11, 7, and 3.
Where were you seated for the parade?
My family was in front of the Steaming Cup, so that would be on the northeast corner of Main and Clinton Street.
And I said seated, but I guess were you standing or where were you on that corner?
Yeah, so I was behind the group of, we had 12 children that were lined up across the street or on the side of the street waiting to receive candy. I was behind the children, so closer to the Steaming Cup.
Was that the same general location as the other parents?
That is correct, yes. My wife, Stephanie, was with my daughter, Kelsey, going in and out of the Steaming Cup, given it was a little chilly that day, and my daughter was a little cold, so she would go in and out of the Steaming Cup, so she was a little further to the west than I was, but we were all in the general direction.
Okay. And how old is Kelsey?
Kelsey at the time of the incident was 3. Today she's 4.
Now, at some point, did you hear anything unusual?
Look how defeated he looks. That's a great thumbnail, actually. I think he's just reading his questions.
Yeah, so in watching the parade, you know, with a lot of circumstance pomp, bands and noises, but then all of a sudden the noises changed to what I would describe as sounds of screaming, and at the time when that occurred, the direction kind of turned from facing the parade down to the east, looking down Main Street.
So as you're facing the parade, would east be to your left? Or to your
That
right?
is correct, to my left.
To your left. And when you said screaming, you said this is a parade. I'm assuming that there are kids and adults screaming and yelling. What was different about the screaming that you heard?
In my recollection, there is a difference between laughing and having a joyful time compared to screaming out of fear, terror. It was just a noticeable difference.
And the screaming that you heard out of fear or terror, that was the screaming that you heard when you looked left?
That is correct.
What did you see?
So what I saw when I looked left was there was a SUV pulling a float that was down to our left side that had not got to the position that we were at, and all of a sudden a car, red SUV, pulled around that float and headed directly in our direction.
You said a red SUV. Did you notice anything unusual about it as the car came at you?
Other than obviously a car coming at us during a parade was something that was very unexpected. And as it got closer, as I mentioned, it was coming at maybe a northwest direction as it passed the SUV coming directly at our location. And in terms of anything else at that point, no.
I'm going to show and ask the court to publish Exhibit 51.
I watched a video from a trial attorney. He briefly talked about these stares that Darrell Brooks tries to do. These moments where he's like staring down a witness. And even he said like it appears that he's trying to do some kind of intimidation thing where he's trying to make the witnesses fear him. I think in this instance he was talking about the jury when they were reading off the verdicts and everything. But even here you can see that's clearly something he's attempting to do, which is crazy. He's in this powerless position, but he still is trying to make people fear him or think that he can do anything to them. Like, it's very strange.
It will show up in front of
It'll
your
never
screen.
not be strange to see this stuff.
Go ahead.
First of all, sir, is this, does this area look familiar to you?
It does.
And where's the steaming cup?
The steaming cup would be the building I'm circling right now.
Yep. Okay. And where were you seated or standing, approximately?
Yeah, so I was standing somewhere right about here.
Okay. And where were your kids?
So we had, like I mentioned before, a group of 12 that were lined up. Kelsey would have been the furthest to the west, and I would approximate that the 12th child furthest to the east would have been somewhere in this direction, or location, excuse me.
And do you know approximately that would have been the location she would have been on the curb, meaning Kelsey, or would she have been off the curb, if you recall?
It's my recollection that she would have been off the curb. There was a lot of excitement with the children, and there was a police officer that would often push the children back to ensure that they were staying out of the direction of the parade, and so it's my recollection that they would have been on the street at that time.
Okay. And still using Exhibit 51, when you state that this red SUV was coming at your group, can you, and I don't know if you can you show the direction of travel using this exhibit?
Objection.
Overruled. You may answer.
I would, the direction I would, based on my recollection, was coming here, and again, right at our location, so coming here and then would have come back this direction into the middle of the street.
Okay. So let's kind of go through that. When you first saw the car, was it on, can you show by an arrow using exhibit 51? Can you show by arrow the, I think you actually have, the direction that the parade was going? You did with the arrow that you previously pointed, is that
Yeah,
true?
the direction of the parade was coming in this direction here.
And where specifically was the car coming from? Was it coming from, as you're looking at the car, was it coming from the left side of the road or the right side of the road?
Objection. Leading the witness.
Overruled.
The car was coming from the south side of Main Street. It had.
You're on the north side?
I'm on the north side
Okay.
by Steam and Cup, so it had passed the SUV on the south side and then came into our purview at that point, coming on a northwest direction towards us.
So the red SUV passed another SUV?
That's correct. It had passed an SUV that had yet to come to our location. So I'm not exactly sure what unit that was in the parade, but as it passed that SUV, it came into my purview, and that's when I got sight of the vehicle.
So the SUV that the red SUV passed, the red SUV would have passed the other SUV on the driver's side.
That is correct.
Okay. If I could have a screen capture of this, I believe it would be 51B. And then,
It is captured. We'll save it as 51B.
it also has,
Hold on.
So exhibit 51 is
I'm
the
sorry, was there an objection?
steam and cup.
The basis for the objection?
Relevancy.
It is relevant. 51B has been captured, and I believe you had a statement about it.
yes, I'd ask that be
I'm
moved
gonna
to
add that to my notes.
It is received. 51B.
Objection be noted for the record, Your Honor.
It already has been.
Yep.
Yes, it will be noted.
Sir, continuing to look at 51, you had stated that the direction of travel then was towards the middle of Main Street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you see what it was going towards?
So at the time of when that vehicle was coming towards our group, myself in particular, I saw the driver of that SUV coming right towards me and then start making a little bit of that, I guess, turning instead of the northwest direction, turning more to the west. And at that time, my concern after looking at this vehicle was realizing that he was heading directly for our children. As the vehicle passed myself and getting to the end of our group, which again, Kelsey was furthest on the west, and right next to Kelsey would have been a family friend, Brinley Harris, and I saw the vehicle strike my daughter. My daughter flew approximately 15 feet towards the middle of the intersection of Clinton and Main. So at that point, a fatherly instinct kicked in, and my sole focus was at my daughter at that point. So I did not have any visual contact with the vehicle after that point.
I'm so glad he mentioned that part too. At the very end right there where he said he had no visual contact with the vehicle. I mean, it's not going to stop Darrell from asking about it, but he got a head start on it pretty much.
You said Kelsey flew approximately 15 feet into Clinton Street?
In estimation,
Your objection is noted.
Already answered.
What was the objection?
That was already answered.
That's not my recollection, so it's overruled. I believe she was seeking clarification or additional details.
Can that be clarified? I'm gonna the question.
Well, if you shut up, he can
No,
do that.
go ahead and
but
ask your question, Attorney Basie. Your objection's noted, it's overruled.
Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor?
Go ahead, Attorney Basie.
So what did you do upon seeing that?
So after seeing my daughter get hit as the vehicle was turning again into the parade route, noticing my daughter was hit by the front right side of the vehicle, and watching my daughter and where she ended up was my sole focus. I ran over to her to check on the condition she was in.
So you actually saw the red SUV's front right bumper strike your daughter?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's what caused her to be propelled into approximately 15 feet away?
That's correct.
What did you notice once you got to your daughter?
I noticed my daughter had a significant amount of blood on her face. She was conscious, but I would consider it a look of, now mind you, she's 3 years old, a look
Oh my
of
God, dude.
just complete fear and misunderstanding, just not understanding what just occurred.
What did you do?
So I picked up my daughter, and not knowing exactly the situation that we were currently involved in, not knowing if there was another vehicle, just not really understanding the situation, I picked her up and I ran north on Clinton Street for about 10 yards. I stopped at that moment. I turned back towards Main Street to make eye contact with my wife and the rest of the group to ensure that the rest of the group was safe, and just to get a bearing of where we were after making eye contact with my wife and asking the question, is everyone else safe? I proceeded to run with Kelsey in my arms. We were parked at Waukesha State Bank, which I grew up in Waukesha, so thankfully I'm very familiar with the surroundings in this general area, and I knew how close I was to the hospital. I ran with Kelsey. My brother-in-law caught up with me and came with me as we drove up to Waukesha Memorial Hospital and brought Kelsey into the hospital.
What injuries did Kelsey receive as a result of being struck by the red SUV?
Oh no.
So Kelsey received a tear in her spleen in this location.
And for the record, I just want to show that you pointed to the left side
Correct.
of,
Back left side of Kelsey.
okay.
She received a broken nose, significant road rash and cuts to her facial area, which one of them required some facial surgery.
To a baby, man.
Prior to the vehicle striking Kelsey,
I know 3 may not be a
when
baby
you
to some
first saw
people,
the
but that's a
vehicle, did
baby to
you
me.
hear it
That's
honking
wild.
its horn?
I did not.
You stated that the vehicle was coming right at you. Were you able to see inside the vehicle?
I was.
How many people were inside that vehicle?
I could only see one person in the vehicle.
Presumably the driver?
Yes, it was on the driver's side, front driver's side.
Could you tell male or female?
Yes, it was a black male, and at the time, the eyes is what drew me in. Were completely wide open, and made eye contact with the individual driving the vehicle.
So you looked eye to eye with the person who hit your daughter.
I did.
Did you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He is seated
and I
in.
ask that Mr. Brooks, take take off his face mask.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
He is seated at the table located over here. He's got
This clown. Pure clown right here. I'm sorry to break the action, y'all. I'll back it up a little bit.
he is seated
And I ask
in.
that Mr. Brooks take off his face mask.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
He is seated at the table located over here. He's got a gray suit on, a blue shirt, and a tie.
Let the record reflect that witness has identified the defendant, Darrell Brooks.
Objection, I do not
Go ahead.
consent to being called that name, nor do I know any individual by that name, Your Honor.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant as the driver of the SUV that's represented.
Big surprise.
May my objection be noted for the record as well, Your Honor.
It's noted.
From your observations, you didn't see anyone else in the car, correct?
I did not.
Did the defendant, was he flailing his arms? Do you recall where his hands were?
I do not recall any hand movement. My main recollection is the face, specifically the eyes.
Did he appear to be in control of the car?
Yes.
Did the vehicle stop after hitting your daughter?
The vehicle did not stop after hitting my daughter, although, as I stated before, I do not have recollection of exactly where the vehicle went, other than getting back towards the center of Main Street.
As the car was coming towards your location, could you estimate the speed?
I have no way of estimating the exact speed, but I would say way too fast for the situation.
So you indicate that you were friends with Matt Harris and his family?
Objection, relevancy
Overruled.
to this particular witness.
Overruled. It goes to context and
Grounds.
background.
Grounds for that.
You were talking over her. She just
Context and
did.
background. It's also relevant. Go ahead, you may answer.
That's correct. We are.
And you say that Brindley was standing near Kelsey when Kelsey got hit?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
Brindley was standing directly to Kelsey's left, to her east.
And did you see Brindley after November 21st?
Yes, I've seen Brindley after November 21st.
Shortly after November 21st of last year?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
Yes.
Did she have any type of medical dressing on her at that time?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
Grounds for that.
It's
Overruled.
relevant.
Yes, she had a full cast on.
Her leg?
Yes,
Or-
her leg.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Any cross, Mr. Brooks?
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm pausing so much. I'm starting to catch myself that I'm pausing a lot. But I was going to say, so one of the questions I'm pretty sure he's going to ask, he said once the car went past him, he didn't see where it went. I'm pretty sure Darrell is going to say something like, so if you didn't see where it went, how would you see his eyes? Because you would have to already be looking at that or something. Which is, I'm sitting here thinking that through, that makes no sense. But he'll try to make it seem like it does.
You may claim that you locked eyes with the driver of the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
And approximately how far was the vehicle from you when you supposedly locked eyes?
I would estimate it 20 feet.
Would it be fair to say that that's about as far as I am from you now? Or was the vehicle further than where I am now from you?
I would state that it was probably a little bit closer.
And what do you mean by a little bit closer?
It means what it means.
I would say perhaps halfway, maybe three-quarters of the way between where you're seated right now and where I'm seated right now.
What would be 3/4 of the way? Can you like point about where?
Again, I estimated it at about 20 feet. So
Would it be fair to say that halfway between you and I would not be an accurate statement of 20 feet?
Objection or
Grounds.
preventative?
Overruled. He may answer the question.
Fisher Price.
That's why I said it was about 3/4 of the way.
So about what spot would it be? By this black, I guess, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a door
Electrical box.
or, excuse me, what is that?
It's an electrical box.
Would it be by this electrical box? Would it be this square directly next to the electrical box? I mean, what would you say would be 3/4 of the way?
So the electrical box would be a good estimation of the distance. However, it was a little further to my left than where the electrical box was because it was coming at us at more of
So it would be a little further this way, coming back towards the table here.
Your Honor, I just ask that the defendant allow the witness to answer the question before he asks the next question.
And I agree. The record should also reflect that as the witness was answering the question, he was motioning with his left arm in a direction outstretched kind of from front of his body to the left of his body, probably at a 45-degree angle to demonstrate that his observation of the vehicle was in that direction. You may ask the question again then so the witness can answer.
Her ability to
So you
describe what people are
estimate
doing
that it
is
was
incredible too.
in relation to where the electrical box is, probably approximately around like this general area right here.
to my direction, probably a little bit to the left of there.
Just so the record is clear, Mr. Brooks is standing up at his table. He's pointing what would be pretty much directly in front of him, but to my left of the electrical box. We have large squares of carpet. It would be a square and a half to the left, my left, Mr. Brooks' right.
For the record, I'm a third party, Your Honor. I won't like that stated for the record. I don't identify by that name or consent to being called that name, Your Honor.
Your lack of consent is noted. Next question, please.
Your Honor, just for the record, I don't think some of the jurors in the back can see
Can
the
see
black
this.
electrical box. So
Why don't we have
everyone
our
just
jurors stand
stand.
for a moment? So that we can be clear that they're seeing that. Thank you. All right. So
I knew
the
that would
record
be a
should reflect
problem,
that the
like,
jurors are
nobody
all
can see what they're
standing to
pointing
take
at
a
right now.
look at where the electrical box is and, of course, the squares of carpet next to that. All right, thank you. You may be seated. Next question, sir.
And you would say from that general distance, you were able to clearly lock eyes with a vehicle that was passing you at a speed that you say was too fast?
As I stated before, the vehicle was not necessarily passing me, it was coming straight at me. And yes, I was able to lock eyes.
And do you recall if the vehicle had any tint?
I do not recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows. I assume, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, tint, yes.
I do not recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows.
Were you able to, you clearly were able to make the color of the vehicle, would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
And were you able to make out the make and model of the vehicle?
I was not.
And were you able to see if there were any occupants in the vehicle other than the driver?
I only saw one occupant in the vehicle.
Did you get a license plates of the vehicle?
I did not get a license plate to the vehicle.
Do you recall what the driver was wearing?
I do not recall what the driver was wearing.
So it would be fair to say that all you looked at was the eyes then, and not the entire face.
I saw the face of the occupant, the driver of the vehicle. I did not see pants or make out any shirt or jacket or any other markings.
I didn't ask about pants, But
The witness answered your question. Next question, sir.
I would like to get to it, Your Honor. Did you observe the vehicle strike anyone while it was coming towards you?
I didn't. I did not.
After it had passed you?
Yes, I observed the vehicle striking my 3-year-old daughter, Kelsey.
After that point?
I did not.
You stated that when the vehicle was coming towards you, it turned away. It was turning away.
Yes, as the vehicle was coming directly towards our group, it did make a turn from a northwest direction to a westerly direction down Main Street.
Would it be fair to say that that direction that it turned was turning away from you?
Correct. It was turning towards the middle of the street.
But generally turning away from the area that you and your children were standing at that point in time.
Correct.
Hey, look, that means nothing because he already hit a group of kids and then continued going. So I don't know what this part is that he's trying to like focus on or put a pin in to say, look, everyone, I turned away from them. But after I hit, like, no, man, you already did what you did.
From your observation, why do you think the vehicle would have been turning away from you?
Objection.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Calls for speculation.
Were you injured in any way?
I was not physically injured.
Have you noticed that every parent so far has said they were not physically injured? It's showing that they're saying, like, I wasn't physically injured, but I definitely was emotionally impacted by dealing with all this stuff. Seeing your kids like this, seeing other adults and parents like this, because there was someone that described, oh boy, I would have to look through my notes for this guy's name. His last name was Bonestill. But he talked about how when he thought that his wife got struck and, you know, he ran over to check on him only to realize it was one of her coworkers, I believe, like that kind of stuff. It'll mess you up psychologically. So I see what they're saying, man. But it's just interesting to see that every parent so far has said the same thing. I am not physically injured, but, you know, emotionally they are. Psychologically as well.
And would it be fair to say that you would describe the scene as pretty chaotic at that point?
Absolutely.
And you...
Mr. Brooks, sorry to interrupt. How much longer do you have? The only reason I ask is there's some weather coming in and I've had some alerts and I want to make sure everyone gets to a safe location. There's a tornado warning, not for us just yet, but
Oh, wow.
so I'll let you finish, but I may be interrupting if another alert comes in. Are they going on? All right, we're gonna take our lunch early then, and all rise for the jury. Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Brooks.
What? Finish my question.
You will. It is 12:43. I do have the parties in the courtroom. Appearances are as they were before. And now we can all hear better because the audio is turned on. The record should reflect that when we last broke, the court had received information regarding nearby tornado warnings. Ultimately, there were a number of warnings that were issued, some of which affected the immediate area. Our alert system ultimately went off with the lights and the audible voice telling everyone to take shelter. And it has been lifted, and it was lifted just a short time ago, and I had the parties brought back into the courtroom. I know when we broke unexpectedly, it was during the cross-examination for, I believe, Mr. Knapp, and my thoughts are as follows, is to have Mr. Knapp come back in, I presume he's available, and finish his cross-examination. And then frankly, given the severity of the weather that went through, including near my house, and I need to check on my house, is to break for the day. So I know there's jurors who live in the area, potentially, where some of these things happened. I don't want to question everyone about, whether they have power or whether they don't have power. I just think given the gravity of this case and the weather system that went through, I want to make sure people are giving their full attention, and I would like to then break for the day and then resume tomorrow morning. So that's my plan.
I wonder if Darrell's going to be mad about this. Like, I wonder if he's going to be upset that he doesn't get to finish doing his cross-exam, or really what's going to happen with
As
that.
is my practice, though, I will give the parties an opportunity to indicate whether they think differently.
We're about to see.
That's what I'd like to do from the state.
I understand, and I certainly respect the court's concern for the jurors and their property and their families.
I feel like he's going to
It's
be
not
mad.
just the jurors. Let me just say, obviously there's a lot of folks that are here attending. Just what I was following in terms of the weather, it's pretty widespread. There were things that happened more south of here. There were things that happened north and west of here. There's people from all over, and I just think it would be wise to let everyone break for the day and then, check on their things and make sure that there are things that they don't need to attend to as the case may be. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sure, no, and I understand that, Judge. I don't have an argument with that. I just, we obviously have a full slate of witnesses here to go this afternoon. Some have traveled from like the Cudahy area or, some distance, not unavoidable, but my only other suggestion would be to maybe, take an extended break and let people make calls or even go home and check and come back at 3 o'clock or something. If that's a possibility, we could still work for a couple hours yet this afternoon, but whatever the court thinks is best, we certainly will be prepared either way.
I certainly would be open to maybe an extended break.
And I understand that, talking with this retainer, but I understand, like, what she's getting at. I feel like she doesn't want this case to be delayed, like, at all. And, like, I get that. Like, so actually, now that I think about it, Darrell will probably be happy. Yeah, he'll probably be happy because everything's going to get slowed down the way that he's always wanted,
So that I and
wanted it
others
to.
could do exactly what you just say. But I'll hear from you, sir, if you have any position on that.
Yeah, I do have a position on that. I agree with your first assessment, Your Honor. Mainly because, too, with severity and weather, that can sometimes mess with equipment being the trial being televised. That can possibly interrupt that. And you never know. Some people that may be key to this matter may not be able to come back after an extended break. There's no way to tell at this point. I do believe it would, on the air, just for cautionary reasons, would be wise to kind of break for the day and then reset.
I knew it.
Tomorrow morning or whenever the court feels it's best. I may need to do some checking of my own with some close relatives of my own.
I know some people from Waukesha watch some of my videos. Was the storm bad, or just people in the Wisconsin area that, like, I think this was on, I want to say October 12th, but was the storm bad that day, or how was it in your area?
So I would want to put
Because
that on
I'm kind of
record as
curious
well.
about that.
Thank you. I presume, though, no objection from anyone to at least finishing up with Mr. Knapp. It appeared to me we were close to being done, including whether he's fine with that as well. And he's shaking his head, yes.
State really quick for the record, Your Honor. I'm still, I guess I would say,
Subject matter jurisdiction.
waiting to obtain a filing that I addressed before we went on record.
I don't know what that means, sir, but I need to bring the jurors out. I need to finish with the cross-examination portion of Mr. Knapp's testimony, and then in all likelihood we'll just break for the day. I'll make, so I understand wanting to maybe come back at a little bit later, but I think it's just best to break for the day. I will entertain, though, over the next 2 days, whether we go a little bit extended to make up for the loss of the afternoon. I'm well aware we have the interpreter here as well, and so I'll have to have the clerk's office communicate with her when we're not on the record as to when she can come back and when we can get that witness back or here.
He's here and ready to go, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, just for the record, just real quick, there is a jury instruction as a preliminary instruction for use with interpreters. I wasn't sure if the court was aware of that.
I am aware
Okay,
of that.
perfect. Thank you.
I'll have to get that ready. Probably needs a little bit of tweaking, so thank you. I'm aware of it. Give me the number, though, so I don't have to search for it.
60.
60? Okay, thank you.
I was gonna ask the same thing. You just said 60, so.
All right, jury instruction 60, and I'll
Want a
work
cookie?
on that when we're
What's the point of
done this
even?
afternoon.
Okay.
So, all right, let's bring the jurors out, and then we'll, Mr. Knapp, you can take the witness stand and be there when they come back in.
Let me see. I don't think this cross exam is going to be that long. Okay.
Subject matter jurisdiction, Your Honor.
I'm so glad she's.
Previous record on that issue stands. I will not further be addressing it without a proper motion for reconsideration that complies with the statutes.
I just wanted to state that for the record.
So noted.
I thought she was just going to ignore it. I was going to say that's great. But I wanted to say thank you to Becky Holexa and Digi Goodness. I got this retainer in. I've probably explained this, I don't even know how many times. So it's difficult to pronounce S words. I lost my retainer and I just now got it back after like, I don't know how many years of not wearing it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for the donations. You know, I appreciate it. And thank you guys, you know, for everyone that's donating to the community of Waukesha. Like, I really appreciate that. I saw someone left a comment that said on the behalf of this community they donated, and I really love to hear that stuff. Like, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
All right.
When we unexpectedly broke prior to the lunch hour, Mr. Knapp was on the witness stand and he was being cross-examined. Sir, you may continue.
I'd like to apologize to the court. I'm not sure where I left off at.
He wants a friend so bad.
Go ahead and just start back up.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I took any notes that would get me back to where I was before the
Okay, there's a bad weather alert. Just hurry up.
Do you recall making or being interviewed by law enforcement in the days following the incident?
I was.
Do you recall what date that was?
I believe it would have been the 23rd. My daughter was released from the hospital after a stay overnight, which would have been the 22nd, and I believe it was the 23rd. I could be mistaken on that.
Do you recall if that was just to make arrangements for the interview at that time?
The recollection I have was actually being questioned about the incident.
You don't recall making arrangements to be interviewed and then approximately 4 or 5 days after that actually being interviewed?
Again, I don't recall the exact date. In my mind, it was the day after we got home from the hospital. And yes, arrangements were made to meet with a detective.
Do you recall being interviewed on November 29th of 2021?
Again, I don't recall the exact date.
You made reference to Clinton Street being a cross street that was close by. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
Do you recall if Clinton Street had any barricades?
I do not recall.
Did you go down Clinton Street at that moment?
Yes, I did, as stated.
Did you recall any law enforcement being present at the Clinton Street side crossing, I guess?
Yes, there was a law enforcement officer on the south side of the street, and as I mentioned before, he helped save a lot of lives by pushing our children back.
Appreciate the extra commentary.
What's that even mean? Yeah, he helped save his kids' lives, okay? Yeah, he definitely can say whatever he wants up there. What is that? Okay.
Do you recall describing the driver as an African American male?
I hope he
with
gives
long
more extra
hair
commentary.
and facial hair?
I remember describing the driver of the vehicle that I made eye contact with as a black male with facial hair. I don't necessarily recall stating long hair.
I'm sorry, that extra commentary thing he said really aggravated me. Like, I was hoping after he said that this guy would just be like, yeah, he looked as, like, just give, like, even more extra commentary, or extra commentaries he puts it. Like, I would just say, oh yeah, he looked exactly like you, and as soon as I saw your picture on the news, I knew it was you. I knew this is exactly who you were. Like, I would just go on a tangent
right
pretty
here
much.
of the interview that you gave with law enforcement on November the 29th of 2021. And reading from that summary.
Right, I'm going to object. Again, for the same reason I objected before. This is in a statement or a supplement by Detective Jeff Adent, A-D-E-N-T, from the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department, in which he met up with this witness. This witness provided information to the detective.
Is
she allowed it?
I don't need the full explanation.
I was gonna say, is she allowed to testify like that? I would.
I'll just sustain
confused.
the objection as to the form of the question. I know you didn't fully get it out, but I think I know where you were going, so please rephrase.
With the reference to the statement that I referred to about the long hair, if I was able to show you, would it bring any recollection of what you may have said during that interview?
No, if I stated it at that time, then that was my recollection at that time. 11 months later, my recollection of the statement is that I made eye contact.
I'm not referring to that statement. I'm referring to the statement that reads David, or yes, or wait, let me back up. Were there some confusion with your name in this report?
Not that
How
I'm
would he
aware of.
know that?
It looks like the officer that was taking the report got a little confused on the name.
Mr. Brooks, you're providing a narrative, so that's not a question. He doesn't have the report in front of him, so please make sure you ask the question.
Do
Okay?
you recall reading from the summary, describing the driver as an African American male with long hair?
As stated, as I sit today, I remember describing the driver as a black male with facial hair and very wide eyes. If I stated that at the time, that was my recollection at the time. As I sit here today, I cannot state that I recall having or seeing long hair.
Would it be fair to say that what I'm reading from is accurate statements made by you to the law enforcement officer?
Objection, for the
Grounds.
same reason I
Hold
mentioned.
on. There's a lack of foundation as to the question, so I'll sustain it, and if you are able to rephrase, please.
Can I show the witness his statements?
Not
Maybe
at this
that
time.
may bring some recollection back of what was said in the interview.
I'll allow it. If you would give the statement to the bailiff, who can then give it to the state. I don't know if you have it electronically or if we want to use the document camera.
I have it in front of me.
All right. Is it connected to the?
He always gets stuck in place like this. It's like,
If he's using it to refresh recollection, that's fine, but this witness says it does not refresh his recollection. I'm objecting to any questions after.
I
that.
understand.
Okay.
All right.
I object to that because
Hold on, let's show, you've asked that it be shown to the witness, it will be shown to the witness. Is there a particular paragraph you want to direct his attention to, Mr. Brooks?
the paragraph that I referred to when he stated that the driver was an African American male with long hair.
All right, so, sir, just take a moment to review that. When you're done reviewing it, turn it over, and then Mr. Brooks will ask you some follow-up questions.
For the record, I don't consent to being called that name, Your Honor. For the record, I'm third party to the matter, Your Honor.
but I was just gonna say, I feel like any decent attorney, like once he said I don't recall saying that, they kind of would. I'm pretty sure they would move on because it's not like a super important detail to be caught up on, you know. I mean, this happened a year ago, and he's just saying like everything else is right. I just don't remember that one
Go
detail.
ahead and ask a question to see if it helped refresh.
Of course, he
your
gets
recollection.
stuck in place.
From reading that summary of the interview that you gave with law enforcement, do you recall stating that the driver was an African American male with long hair?
I recall stating what I stated before, that it was a black male with facial hair and white eyes. I don't recall stating long hair, but
Would it be fair to say that the summary that is in front of you states that that's what you said?
It would be hearsay.
Grounds.
Asked and answered like crazy.
I'm stating directly what it says on the paperwork.
It's still hearsay, Mr. Brooks, so the objection is sustained. Next question.
Is it fair to say that that's what
It's hearsay, so,
it's hearsay when it's right there for him to read?
Mr. Brooks, I direct your attention to the
But that's not a
hearsay
verbatim.
statute, all right, for a definition in 908.01 and the rule in 908.02.
So it's
And how many
it's
times-
not a fair.
Sustained. Next question.
Okay, he's getting flustered. Maybe he'll just end the cross exam.
Do you recall if the driver had hair? Any hair whatsoever?
I recall seeing facial hair.
any hair on their head?
I don't recall at the moment as we sit today picturing exactly that if I saw hair or if I didn't.
Any reason why you wouldn't be able to see the driver's head?
My eyes were locked on a vehicle that was driving at a high rate of speed with the person driving the vehicle's eyes extremely wide. And then at that moment, my full attention went to my children where that vehicle was driving at a very high rate of speed.
So it would be fair to say that because you keep making reference to the eyes, so would it be fair to say then that because you were so fixated on the eyes that it would be hard to tell any other features of the driver?
I'm stating what I saw: wide eyes, black male, facial hair.
Would it being so fixated on the eyes, would that in any way make it hard for you to see any other facial description?
I'm not sure your definition of hard. I'm stating what I saw.
Do you recall if there was anything on the driver's head, a hat or anything of that nature?
I don't recall.
You stated that it was an African American male. Do you recall a skin complexion?
I do.
Was it a dark skin complexion?
It was.
I know he's gonna now say, well, my skin. Wait, no, he's not gonna say that directly, but he's gonna try to get him caught up on that detail now about his complexion being lighter, and so how can you define
Would it
it
be
as
fair to
dark?
say that who you identified today does not have a dark complexion?
I knew it.
I guess it depends upon the definition of dark.
What is your definition of dark? Because in all fairness, you said dark skin. So what would be your definition of dark skin?
Dark skin as present on my interaction with black males in the past.
So every black male that you've had an interaction with was dark skinned?
Again,
He loves to try this.
Complexions of dark, and it depends upon what complexion or what your definition of dark is.
I'm asking your definition because you said dark skin.
I mean, he really tries to get people tangled up in this. That's why I'm really glad. I think near the beginning of this dude's testimony, he actually pointed. He said that he's the guy that I remember driving the SUV. So all of this like confusion that he's trying to throw in here, like about complexion and all this stuff, at least we got that solid statement. He gave a positive ID on him.
The point has been made. This witness identified the defendant, Darrell Brooks, as the person driving the car. I think he's asked the question about dark skin. I think that this has been asked and answered.
Objection.
I'm going to sustain the objection as to the form of the question. I believe the way it's asked is argumentative. You may rephrase if you so choose.
Why? She has a smile on her face this whole time. Like every time, I don't know if you guys noticed it. I've started to notice every time Darrell starts talking, she's like laughing pretty much.
Objection be noted that I do not identify by that name, nor do I know anybody by that name. I don't consent to being called that name.
Noted. Next question, please.
I feel like the bailiff's facial expression is exactly how we all
Have you
feel.
ever had any other interactions with any black males that were not considered dark-skinned by your definition?
I don't understand your question.
Have you had any previous interactions with African Americans that were not dark-skinned?
Objection to relevance.
Grounds.
Overruled. It relates to his identification. He may answer.
As stated before, my interactions with black males before, there are different levels of complexion and color tones, darker versus lighter. And I have interacted with black males before that have been both lighter and darker skin tones, yes.
Would it be fair to say that you didn't give that clarification when asked before?
He just gave it
I
now.
don't understand your question.
He just
Would
gave
it
it
be
now.
fair to say that you did not give that clarification when asked the same question before?
What clarification are you referring to?
You strictly said the skin tone, you came to the conclusion that it was dark skin based on your interactions with African American males before. Would it be fair to say that that's what you testified to?
That I can identify the skin tone color is what I stated, and the person that was driving the vehicle had a darker skin tone.
Let's see if he moves on to the sovereign citizen questions now. I mean, once he feels like he trips someone up, he usually...
have a question from the chat.
Once he feels like he's tripped someone up a little bit, he usually stays in place on that. So he might have like 10 more questions about the same thing. But once the sovereign citizen stuff comes, he usually is about to just stop. But I hope everyone's doing
From your
good. I
recollection
probably said
of,
that earlier.
The interview with law enforcement, do you recall stating that you don't vividly recall any acceleration?
I do recall stating that.
And just for clarification for the record, you did not see the vehicle strike anyone once it was past your location.
When it passed me, I saw the vehicle strike my daughter.
The location where you were at, you made reference to being near that intersection corner, I think it was.
So
Once it was past that location is what I'm referring to.
right. So after the vehicle struck my daughter and then past that location, I ran to my daughter as stated, and I did not see, other than the vehicle swerve back towards Main Street, the vehicle strike another human being.
So you did not see it, just for clarification, because that was a lot of commentary. For
That is
clarification for the record, you did not see it strike anyone else once it was past that location.
He actually
where you
just
and your
chuckled
family
it.
were.
That is correct.
And a lot of you said in the comment section, a lot of these parents would love to get their hands on this dude. And it's like, after hearing, this dude really just chuckled when he talked about, like, yeah, after it struck my daughter, I didn't see it hit anybody else. And he actually chuckled, like, okay, that was a lot there, you said. Like, oh, man. I don't know. It's like a lot of times when I hear these testimonies, I try to think of it from the perspective of like the families and the people that are testifying. And if I was in this spot right now, like, dear God, man,
No further questions.
That is the most
redirect.
frustrating thing.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
Great job for all the witnesses once again. I say that pretty much every video,
So,
and I'm
ladies
going
and
to continue
gentlemen of
saying
the
it.
jury, I have made a determination that today we are going to break early, just given all of the weather issues that happened earlier today. Frankly, including the need on my part to check on my house and other things. I just felt it best, just given all of that and the disruption, that we would break for the day. I do want you, as you go back home today, to look at your schedules for the next 2 days, because I may keep us here a little bit later to make up for some of the lost time, at least tomorrow. So just let the civilian jury bailiffs know tomorrow when you come in. I do want to read to you the instructions that I've been providing to you regarding not starting your deliberations and the extra research, etc. So, do not begin your deliberations and discussion of the case until all the evidence is presented, and I have instructed you on the law. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic devices such
do
as a
not look at the
mobile
camera like that.
phone or
Can we get the
computer, text or instant
camera off the
messaging or
stick?
social networking sites to send or receive any information about this case or your experience as a juror.
All right, I'm going to skip ahead just because I don't like got to the screen for so long. Hold on. She's just reading the rules to the jury. Hold
If
on one
anyone
second.
does so despite your telling,
I'm pretty sure Darrell's gonna have some more to say once the jury is dismissed, so I'm just gonna get to that part. Let me see.
changes tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm going to check with the jurors, and if anything changes, we'll let them.
Let me go back a little bit more.
Tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm going to check with the jurors, and if anything changes, we'll let the parties know. But otherwise, plan on being here at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Will there be an interpreter?
I won't know. We'll do that off the record. I don't know if Dawn Maldonado stayed or not, but if not, we'll contact her and we'll be in touch with you very quickly so that we can tell you if that witness needs to come back tomorrow or another day. Because it might not be her. They could turn to one of our other interpreters. All right. Thank you, everyone. We are in recess.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I just wanted to fast forward through that part because, I've said this numerous times now, but this dude radiates bad energy. Like when the camera's focused on him for too long, and it's just bad vibes. I don't really. All right, that's the end of day 5. Another day of just weird and disrespectful questions from Darrell. And you guys remind me a lot. It's gonna get a lot worse. So I'm getting mentally prepared for that. It does seem like it's a gradual increase in how disrespectful he's getting. He seems to be getting the confidence to just say some wild stuff to these people. Just like that chuckle and stuff he did just now. It's disgusting, man. But if you guys enjoyed the video, which I hope you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And once again, you can donate to the community of Waukesha in the comment section. I will have it pinned as the top comment. I always have it there. So if you guys are looking for any resources to give to the community, it will be there for you. Hope you did something good for somebody today. Hope somebody did something good for you. And I will catch you guys in the next video.